Hi Virgo, welcome to your March 2018 Astro Update. It's Raina here. And if you already watched a March astrology forecast from me and you're like, what is this? I did do the whole thing over again. It was a little bit difficult to just like erase all my work, but I did not mention the blue moon at the end of the month in Libra. And that was a little bit too much of a glaring omission, so I'm just going to start all over again. And the month for you starts with a full moon in your sign, so you may be leaving something behind as you start the month. It's kind of interesting because we always like fixate on beginnings and endings, on new moons and full moons. But all endings are beginnings, all beginnings factor in some endings, don't they? If you move to a new place, you're leaving behind an old place. And you're still experiencing a lot of newness, new experiences, but some of the past is getting left behind. In this case, you may be shedding an old skin, but then there's going to be a new you that comes into focus. This can bring you some kind of, you may be getting attention for some reason. Others may see you more than they normally do. And you know how you guys are shrinking violets. That's just a joke, a little private joke, because I had mentioned that about Virgos, and I got a couple of steamy responses to that, and I only said it thinking of myself. What people have to understand is that all of the sun signs are archetypes. Obviously, we're a combination of different influences. We're not just our sun signs. And actually, we're not just astrology. This is kind of like part of the template of the matrix of living in the material world. I mean, we are spirit soul. If you really want to get right down to it, we don't need to identify with anything. But having said that, we tend to like to look at these archetypes in life because they give us some information. They may not give us the whole picture, but they help us some way. We would never have any books on astrology. There would be no purpose. Somebody said to me, that's just a generalization. I don't think I'm, like this, blah, blah, blah. Well, of course it's a generalization. Astrology always is. Otherwise, why even bother with it? And actually, I have a moon in Virgo, so I was saying it as much about myself as I was anyone. I'm a very introverted person. I'm not really somebody that likes to be out there like that. This is the perfect setup for me because I can kind of be behind the scenes and out there at the same time. So it's really good. But if you have a lot of Leo personal planets, you may be very bold and you may be much more extroverted. I'm totally aware of that. I was talking about the fact that Virgo is known as the servant because of being the ruler of the sixth house of service. And so there tends to be those attributes that get played out in some way, and other people can come along and take advantage of it and treat a Virgo person like a doormat because they don't really appreciate the kind of help that Virgo has to offer, and they are very much into themselves. That's not saying anything bad about Virgos, however. So you may, at the time of this full moon, have a realization about yourself and what needs to change, or even what you appreciate about yourself, and that may make you feel more of a sense of confidence. So on the 6th of the month, Mercury and Venus go from the 7th house to the 8th house. Both of these houses can be called relationship houses. The 7th house is more of the outward relationship between two people, the marriage house. And so all of those things that we associate with marriage can be really describing this place where we're talking about a partnership. But the 8th house is more about intimacy. So it's beyond the outer trappings. The 8th house is like bearing your soul to another person. It's also the house of sexuality, so you could say it's about bearing your body to another person. But in terms of how I see this progression from the 7th to the 8th, I feel like for some of you there is some kind of marital negotiations. And when I use the term marriage, I am speaking also of people who are in a relationship that is the equivalent of marriage. They may not have signed a contract or anything like that, but they're living together and blah, blah, blah. I'm including them as well. Now, the importance of this is that you have this situation where you may, because I'm thinking back to, when was that? Looking back to the fall and, Northern Hemisphere, let's just say September, when there was a full moon in Pisces in this same sector. You may have had like a separation with a partner, and now you're starting to talk again to them. And this is great because you may feel this sense of like you're getting on the same page. Maybe when the planets go into the 8th house, it's like that other person is going to get to know you better than they ever knew you. You may have been married for 10 years and they didn't know half of the things that they know now. And the 8th house is also the house of secrets, okay? And sometimes people have stuff that happened to them when they were young. They could be, I guess it doesn't have to be childhood, but adolescence or even in their 20s, let's say. And I'm talking about traumatic experiences that they may not have shared with their partner before they got together with them. And it's actually impacting the relationship. And those kinds of things can sometimes, the person may feel ashamed to bring it up or afraid for some reason, but it's really negatively impacting the relationship. The 8th house is the house of sex, death, and other people's money. So it can, there can be issues surrounding these topics that have caused the person to suffer in some way. And they are kind of bringing it out to the surface and letting the other person know, this is why I've always had this problem in this area. I never told you, but this thing happened to me when I was young. And the other person then gets to understand what happened. Because sometimes people take it personally. If their partner is acting a certain way, they blame themselves. And another reason that people are afraid to kind of like bare their soul is because they're afraid that the other person will use it against them. And of course, that may happen, especially if the person is an undeveloped person and they don't understand what you're telling them. And there are a lot of people that are not, I don't know if you'd call it spiritually evolved enough or just, I don't know what you would call it, but they just don't understand that people sometimes do things that they don't want to do, or they experience certain things and it doesn't make them bad people. They tend to be very rigid in their beliefs because they're afraid. They're afraid and confused. So it's really, there's nothing you can really do about a person like that. If you're with somebody like that, you probably shouldn't be with them anyway, because they're not going to understand if you try to explain yourself at a deeper level. But anyway, you may be kind of hearing from them and what has gone on with them in their life. And maybe now you're finally having a deep relationship. Maybe you had a relationship, a marriage that was all on the surface. It was all like play acting. And now you have a real sense of who the other person is, and you can move forward when there's a new moon in the 7th house, which happens on the 17th of the month, and you can move forward as a couple. And it's almost like you're getting remarried or something. For some of you, this Mercury and Venus transit into the 8th house may be related to a probate issue, because the 8th house can be the affairs of the dead, financial affairs, money that you get that is not coming from the work that you do, but also specifically from inheritances. So with Mercury representing contracts and Venus representing money, you could be looking at signing contracts and also receiving the money after, or, from the 6th of March onwards until the end of the month. Now, Mars goes into Capricorn on the 17th, and this will be in your 5th house of romance. So that's kind of interesting. The 5th house isn't just romance. The 5th house is creativity. It's the business that you own, and it's also physical sports. So you may be reuniting with your marriage partner, but at the same time, you are getting involved in martial arts or something. So for some people, this could be a sexual affair. So don't think that everything that I'm saying is happening for everyone. Some of these may happen, some of them may not, or they may happen in a way that I don't say that they're going to happen. But Mars is your sex drive, it's your physical passion, and the 5th house is the house of recreational sex. So you just do the math there, put 2 and 2 together. But you may be working very hard on a creative project. You may be doing a lot of work on your business. Either you have a lot of clients. You could have a lot of clients without that 7th house activity, because that could be clients. And you're just like busy as a beaver. But something is going on, it's activating that 5th house and making you very creative in some way or the other, or really feeling like strong physical passion towards somebody. Maybe it has something to do with you getting back together with an ex-spouse. Maybe that's just you're like teenagers again. So on the same day, but let me just say that before that Mars is in that house, it is going to be in the 4th house of home and family for the first half of the month. So watch out for any tendencies to be argumentative or to have conflict with your family of origin, your mother specifically, because that could be featured. But the 4th house, there could just be a lot of comings and goings and activity. That's just all that Mars could mean. It doesn't have to mean anything negative or combative, But you may have been renovating your home or, with some construction work. So that could be Mars in the 4th house. So I just wanted to talk about that, because that's happening for half of the month. So, and as I said, a new moon in your 7th house of partnership. So new clients, maybe maybe some people are committing to a partner, and this is like your engagement time or something along those lines. And then on the 31st, we have 2 other transits. Venus goes into Taurus on the last day of the month. So we're seeing a 7th, 8th, 9th pathway of Venus in the month of March. The 9th house is a house of foreign travel, higher education, higher thought in terms of your philosophical beliefs. This is the God house, stuff like that. And so you may be, with Venus there, there may be some kind of, for some people who are single and looking, you may meet somebody who is from a different culture than you, from a different country. If you're traveling, you may actually meet them abroad. This could also be a case where you have money from some publishing venture. You have money from you earn money from something that connects to anything with a university angle. So maybe you have money to go to school. You find out you're going to be able to get that loan. Actually, the 8th house is also, since it's other people's money, it could be loans. So maybe like a student loan, and now you have it, and you can start on, you can apply to a school that you had been wanting to go to. And on that same day, we have a blue moon, the second full moon in a month, and this is going to be at 10 degrees of Libra, your second house of earned income. So this could be a boost to your income, a culmination. If you have, especially if you have a type of job where you get bonuses, or the money comes in somehow in a, how would I put it, in some sort of a, the type of back pay. I don't know how they, I can't think of the term. It's like if you do contract work, I don't know what they call that. You get like, you don't get paid every week. You might get paid once a month, but it could be like a bonus also. So, and for some people, you may be ending a source of income. Maybe you're retiring, so you're going to receive money in a different way. I feel like it's possible that if there's something related to an inheritance, that you may quit your job. If it's a big enough inheritance, you may say, I've been wanting to quit this job for so long, now I have a way to do it. It could be even like, with the 8th house, you could be dealing with a divorce with the 7th and 8th houses. And maybe you like split between you and your ex, you split the money that you made in a business together, and you have enough to like go your merry way, and you don't even have to work anymore. I don't know. But anyway, that's happening on the last day of the month in your earned income sector. At the very least, you may be thinking about your money and maybe coming up with creative ideas on how to earn more of it. Okay, Virgo, I hope that you enjoyed this, and all the best to you in March. If you'd like a private reading, please click on the link below. Take care. Bye.